excited to unlock a door with your eyes.
It seems like in both of our novels that the crazier something is, the more likely it is to have been true.
You don't need an invitation to do the right thing.
Today on Spotlight, what it's like to work on movie sets as a Hollywood wrangler. Plus, why the Cardinals can open doors with their eyes. And then a grassroots group helping people do the right thing. But first, the story of one of America's founding mothers, Eliza Hamilton. It's Sunday and you're watching Spotlight.
Me, I trusted him.
Me, I loved him.
And me.
214 years after his death, he's one of the hottest founding fathers, thanks in large part to Lin-Manuel Miranda.
What's your name, man? Alexander Hamilton.
Hamilton, an American musical, has many of us looking at the man on the $10 bill a bit differently these days. But what about the other Hamilton in the show, with a smaller role but immense influence on Alexander's life and legacy?
Elizabeth Schuyler, it's a pleasure to meet you.
His wife, Eliza Schuyler Hamilton.
We had no notion of who Eliza Hamilton really was, other than what we saw in biographies and in the musical, of course. But we were surprised to find a very spunky kind of warrior lady.
That revelation, based on research trips and the analysis of more than 9,000 long letters.
Long letters, yes.
Alexander never takes 5 words to say what he might say in 50 words.
Between Alexander and Eliza Hamilton, their relatives and friends had Stephanie Dre and Laura Camoy excited, since spunky and warrior-like isn't exactly how Eliza's typically portrayed, even in the musical they both love.
A lot of the characterizations that exist of Eliza often focuses on her as this sort of very sweet, kind of meek, very loyal, saintly wife. We have a different kind of a characterization of Eliza in My Dear Hamilton.
Their book details a formidable founding mother who grew up the daughter of a general, was fiercely committed to America's independence, helped write many of Alexander Hamilton's most influential papers during their loving, yet sometimes complicated marriage, had 8 children, and lived 97 years, rubbing elbows and making her opinion known with history's key players.
I mean, she knew 12 of the first 16 presidents. There were times that we were pretty sure that the Hamiltons knew literally every person that lived in early America because, we were constantly having new, interesting characters that could potentially be in the book, and we had to make the decision about who we would include and not include.
Even after those decisions, they had to cut 60,000 words from their first draft. That's 200 pages.
There were a lot that were very painful to cut, yes. A lot of darlings, and is what you say in the writing world is cut your darlings. Well, we cut a lot of darlings, I would just want to say. For me, in this novel, there were probably 2 or 3 scenes that were the hardest for me. One was towards the end of her life, Eliza has dinner at the White House with President Polk and his wife. Mm-hmm. And I just thought that was a delightful scene for a lot of reasons, including that the Polks are not, they're just interesting people. I'll leave it at that. But it was one that ended up going, that whole scene went.
What I find interesting is that you mention in the back of your book that historically, I mean, this is a historical fiction, so the conversations you've come up with, but the crazy events that are in there, like these big events, you think there's no way that happened. No, those are the things that are historically accurate. Those are facts.
It seems like in both of our novels that the crazier something is, the more likely it is to have been true. We did not have to make things up to create drama in Eliza Hamilton's life. It was already there. She was at the forefront and a witness to many of the most important moments in the founding of the country.
So I'm kind of picking up on what sections you each wrote by what you love a little bit?
I think we can reveal the scenes that we wrote that we cut. But as the ones that we kept, our hands were on all of those scenes. We generally will draft different chapters and then exchange them and then edit freely. So our words are all interspersed in the document. So there's really no page of the book that both of our hands were not on.
We have identified that in some areas Stephanie is stronger, in other areas I'm stronger, and we have complementary strengths. And so when we both go through all the pages, we get to build each other up and build the story up with what our respective strengths are. And it's worked.
There has to be another founding mother that you're looking at and saying, she's got a pretty good story.
But we can't talk about it now.
To keep the anticipation from killing us, at least we now have these 2 novels from this writing duo, giving us a whole new perspective on history from the eyes of our intrepid founding mothers.
To hear more stories about this famous couple, text Hamilton to 31996 or download our Talking with Authors podcast. Follow HEC Media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Carl Luthen is a large animal vet in a small Illinois town. His expertise of horses has taken him all the way to Hollywood as a wrangler. Carl and his team have worked on many notable films, including the Oscar award-winning Lincoln, Secondhand Lions, and Free State of Jones.
A wrangler is a person who handles livestock. When you get on set, you have all kinds of actors who have never dealt with horses. They don't know anything about the saddling, they don't know anything about the harnessing or anything else. That's what you're there for. You're paid to do that. Quite often you will stand alongside the camera. If they're going to be running horses through there, you may have 1 or 2 wranglers standing close to camera. So for some reason a horse does spook, he can reach out and protect the camera, push the horse away or grab the horse. Worst thing you want to have happen as a wrangler is to have an actor somehow get hurt while riding one of the horses. Occasionally somebody gets horse spooked, they get thrown, they break an ankle, they break an arm. That takes them out of filming for maybe 6 weeks, 8 weeks, which means they have to reschedule the whole filming around the fact that this actor is unavailable. Mostly what we do in the movies is we provide the saddle horses. In some cases, some of our horses have become principal horses, meaning principal actor horses. This is Glory, one of our principal horses. She's retired now. She was Daniel Day-Lewis's horse.
Not only are they providing horses, Carl also has a wide selection of time-specific equine equipment, uniforms, and gear ranging from the French and Indian War through World War I.
For the last 20 years, Hollywood productions have become more and more in line with doing things well because the public is demanding it. That didn't look right. I can't believe they did. Did they really do that? You know, that doesn't go anymore. I mean, if you want it to be a successful show, you have to have the correct stuff for the time period. Quite often they'll send a script, and I'll sit there with a yellow marker, and I'll read the script and mark. And it's 1854 United States Dragoons. Carl, we need 12 sets of dragoon gear, 1854. Went off to Texas.
Carl's daughter has taken on the trade and follows in her father's footsteps as a Hollywood wrangler.
To a good extent, the SAG wranglers are second, third generation family. So it's kind of like race car drivers. You sort of go from generation to generation as far as the head wranglers are concerned. The rest of the crew pretty much are horsemen.
Carl's vet training comes in handy on set as well.
Some days on set, I'm a wrangler. Other days on set, I'm Dr. Luthen. I stand there with American Humane and I watch the stunts. And if there's a question on whatever happens in the stunt, then as a second opinion, the American Humane person may come and say, Carl, I need you to write this up also. And we'll write it up. If a horse gets hurt on set, I'm the on-site veterinarian. Every night we got an attaboy. We never got a, how did we screw this up? You know, And that's what you're looking for, is an attaboy. You don't need a pat on the back. You just need to know at the end of the day that what they hired you to do, you did well.
HEC celebrates St. Louis like no other media outlet, highlighting those making a difference through science and technology.
It's a wonderful community of young entrepreneurs who are all doing very amazing things.
Focusing on arts and education.
Poverty is not going to stop a student from getting a quality education. We can't let that happen.
Broadcasting meetings and functions to educate and inform our community.
St. Louis feels like a city on the road to extraordinary things.
Producing compelling documentaries celebrating our region.
Henry Shaw founded the Missouri Botanical Garden, one of the first of its kind in the country and one of the best of its kind in the world.
Visit hecmedia.org for up-to-date, locally produced stories about the people and organizations who make St. Louis great.
Not only are the St. Louis Cardinals among the best in baseball, the Cards are also innovators, having a vision for the future of security. The Cards claim to be the first in Major League Baseball to use iris recognition technology. Only the sets of eyes in the Cards database can open layers of clubhouse doors. It's used to gain entry to designated areas for Cardinals players and coaches.
And be in their work environment and not have the distractions and not have anyone else wandering through there when they really shouldn't be.
Not that long ago, the idea of using your eyes to identify you was part of science fiction. But here it is, not inside a starship. It's inside Busch Stadium.
There's a couple players that talk about Star Trek, just the whole futuristic side of everything.
The character played by actor Tom Cruise in the sci-fi thriller Minority Report had a problem with iris scanning. He had nowhere to hide.
John Anderson, you could use a Guinness right about now.
But do St. Louis Cardinals players have a problem with it?
Some guys think it's too flashy, it's not something we need, and other guys were excited about it for the same reasons. You know, it's the first time they saw this kind of technology and they were excited to unlock a door with your eyes.
Iris recognition identifies a person by analyzing the random and complex pattern of the iris that's unique to the individual.
You really can think of it as a fingerprint. It's entirely unique. It's nothing that can be duplicated.
The iris is the color portion of the eye. It's the muscle regulating the size of the pupil, controlling the amount of light entering the eye. Stadium Operations System Coordinator Stanley Rahalski uses camera technology to capture the player's dual iris image.
You go into the enrollment, you can see all the names and the players that we have populated. Example, here's Carlos Martinez, and that's the image of his eyes that the camera captures and stores to the database.
At the door, the iris reader sends an infrared beam of light to the eye, acquiring the detailed structure of the iris.
You don't even see it. There's no beam, so to speak. There's kind of a disc on the front of the reader, and you basically just look at that, make sure your eye is focused at that, and it'll automatically just do it. You're not seeing anything pass across or anything like that.
Phil Melcher is the Cardinals' Director of Security. For Melcher, having a system that denies lying eyes is a system he can trust. Melcher says it can only make a match with a functioning eye as the iris performs this biometric verification.
A live eye is going to have a different appearance than an eye that's non-functioning.
By going with the biometric technology, you're never going to be without your eyeballs. When you're carrying bags in, you don't have to set anything down.
Before iris recognition technology, players and staff were required to wear a lanyard and use their badge or ID card to gain access to the clubhouse. Now, they only need their eyes.
Infrared beam can actually look through a pair of sunglasses or a pair of eyeglasses.
In seconds, the match is made and the door unlocked. Iris recognition is one of many new security measures in recent years, and not just for the players' safety. The Cards say they are the first in Major League Baseball to employ explosive detection canines. And that's not all.
The physical security outside the stadium, like the bollards and the barrier protection.
Built to protect the building and people on the sidewalk. They added security cameras for a price tag of $1.3 million. And this crossing gate can stop a semi-truck traveling 50 miles per hour.
We do basically a risk analysis. What's the current threat scenario? We're bringing in partners from the FBI, Department of Homeland Security.
The Cardinals are recognized for having the best security practices by the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. They were awarded the department's Safety Act certification.
We're one of only 4 stadiums in Major League Baseball with full certification through Safety Act. Being part of this organization and the tradition that goes with that means that you're trying to be the best.
Which means taking a swing at something new.
HEC Media presents Talking with Authors, the podcast. Your favorite writers and genres with diverse subjects and styles. Like New York Times bestselling author Brad Meltzer, crime writer Karen Slaughter, Charles Fishman, Sarah Kendzior, Judy Blume. With new podcasts dropping bi-weekly. Subscribe to Talking with Authors wherever you get your podcasts. From HEC Media, Left Bank Books, and the St. Louis County Library.
A special social distance dance later on Spotlight.
We're here at Golf the Galleries, which is our first exhibit back at the Sheldon after the city-wide stay-at-home order that we've all been living under for the last few months. And we could not be more excited to be welcoming the St. Louis community back into the Sheldon. Golf the Galleries is a playable, 9-hole, artist-designed mini golf course inside the Sheldon Art Galleries. So when people come down to the Sheldon, they can bring the whole family. It's an all-ages event, and they will be able to play mini golf inside the galleries on these beautiful holes that were designed by local artists, architects, and other creatives in St. Louis. As usual, the artists for Golf the Galleries have gone above and beyond with their creativity. We have an urban backyard scene that features the flora and fauna that all of us can find in our backyards here in St. Louis. We have a full-size and immersive game of Clue. We have a giant zipper. We have a giant taco. And there's also a couple returning artists that people will recognize and love. The Chess Hall of Fame has another beautiful hole based on a chess set in their collection. And Justin King, who I think a lot of people know for his cardboard work, has done a beautiful hole called Fauna Chroma that features a colorful menagerie of our favorite animals. This is our 3rd year for Golf the Galleries, and each year the holes change. So it's become a tradition for a lot of people to come back summer after summer and see what our artists have come up with. Unlike visiting a traditional art exhibit, Golf the Galleries is interactive. So we think it's really important for families, especially kids, to experience art and not just see it on the walls. So one of the most fun things about Golf the Galleries is that you can bring your kids to a museum, but they get to play. And they get to live inside that art and experience it in a way they wouldn't at a traditional exhibit. Of course, the health and safety of our visitors and our staff and volunteers is the most important thing that we're focusing on this summer. So we have put a lot of guidelines in place to keep everybody safe while they're having fun here at Golf the Galleries. Of course, masks are required for anyone over the age of 9, and we do recommend them for children between 2 and 8. We have hand sanitizers throughout the exhibit. We will also be taking temperatures and asking people to sign in, and we are limiting capacity to 8 people every 15 minutes. It's a really great big space for the amount of people that we're allowing in, and I think people will feel very comfortable. Golf the Galleries is open 7 days a week through September 6th, and we are offering timed tickets on our website at thesheldon.org, and all of the health and safety information and other details about pricing and times are at thesheldon.org as well.
You just never know where that spark is going to come from.
You're putting a human touch to everything through the vehicle of art. We give them the ability to hope.
A 2016 news report inspired Jessica Bueller to change the world.
I called the owner of Renouche, a Syrian restaurant in the Del Mar Loop, and asked him if he was familiar with what was going on at the Hodamat apartment complex with the Syrian refugees. And he told me he was very aware of the situation, and he helped put me in contact with a Syrian pediatrician who helped me meet the Syrian people and to figure out what items they needed most. As they're getting a job, as they're learning English, one of the things that they don't have are shampoo, conditioner, lotion, regular things that you would have in your bathroom and things that you use every day. They don't have those items. So I went ahead and put out a post on the Nextdoor platform to let people know that we were doing a Thanksgiving toiletry drive in 2016. We had so many boxes and bags of donations, we didn't even have a place to store them all. So that's how Welcome Neighbor STL was born.
Welcome Neighbor STL is an organization that brings out the best in people. Understanding the plight of another person and finding out how they can be helped is the heart and soul of the organization.
You don't need an invitation to do the right thing.
Doing the right thing and doing it at the right time is helping countless refugee families thrive. Refugees often spend months or even years in camps in their home countries. When they land on American soil and arrive in St. Louis, they're placed in temporary housing. The apartment complex is in a crime-filled area of the city. Living conditions are less than desirable.
Bed bugs, it had cockroaches, there were shootings, IV needles laying around. It was just not a safe place to be. So we started a GoFundMe account and was able to raise $20,000 to help move the Syrian refugee families out of that apartment complex.
With their large family, Reina Alayed and her husband Nazar didn't want to move from apartment to apartment. They were able to buy a house.
My husband was work really hard. The most important thing is just a safe area. This is our house, our neighborhood. Now we feel this is our country.
Welcome Neighbor STL works with refugees from any country, but a majority of the families are from war-torn Syria. After the families find safe housing, Jessica finds out what else they need. While men find jobs, women are at home with the children. They don't know how to drive and often don't speak English.
They have no past work employment, very few opportunities for them where they can create a meaningful income for their families.
And so Jessica had the idea to host supper clubs. The women cook a traditional meal from their home countries. An event is held in a donated space. The women keep 100% of the money raised.
This provides them a way to be able to earn as much money in one night as they might be able to working 1 month of a minimum wage job part-time. So it's a way that they can be valued in their family, contribute financially, and also bring people together. And when we break bread together, we bring people together.
The supper clubs are wildly successful. At the events, immigrant families practice English and share their culture.
Coming in American for before 3 years and 4 months.
Because I have my country, our country, our problem, I want to send our mothers money. This is very good. And Jessica make it very nice.
I can say she is actually the only one who stands next of us. Like for me, the most important thing, know the wonderful people through Welcome Neighbor STL. We are lucky with that here.
And then the supper club events abruptly stopped as much of the world shut down. But the needs of the families didn't stop, so Welcome Neighbor STL adapted once again by doing some different right things.
Here you go.
Instead of in-person events, pre-ordered meals were distributed in a drive-through event on World Refugee Day. Virtual cooking classes were offered by a Middle Eastern chef. And in a partnership with Swift Printing, the women earned money by sewing custom logos onto masks. A lifeline in a time of uncertainty has been the Family Partnership Program. Welcome Neighbor STL has paired local family partners with refugee families to provide one-on-one support. Helping others is a deeply embedded philosophy in Jessica's life.
When you become successful, you leave the ladder down for others to follow up behind you. And that you don't stand on the top of the mountain and you say, shout to everyone, look what I've done, see what I've done. But instead, you leave the ladder down for as many people to follow up behind you so that they can become successful as well.
The women cooks are leaving the ladder down as well. As part of a program with START, St. Louis Teens Aid Refugees Today, they prepared meals that are delivered to the homeless in downtown St. Louis.
If you see somebody who's hurting, then help them. We can make a significant impact to improve people's lives so that their lives are better, their children's lives are better. The secret about Welcome Neighbor is that there is no secret. It's just volunteers of people getting together and doing the right thing and realizing that they don't need an invitation to help someone when they're suffering. You just jump in and you do the right thing.
Follow HEC Media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thanks for watching Spotlight. Join us next Sunday for more stories about the arts, authors, culture, and more. We'll see you back here at 9:30 a.m. on KPLR 11.